Blessings upon blessings upon blessings. Here we are. Here we are. Blessings upon blessings upon blessings. I don't know why I keep forgetting to change the date, the number. I think it's right on the feed, on the stream. It's day 24, not day 23. Please forgive me. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in and do share with others. Tonight we are praying the prayer of consistency. The prayer of consistency. Come on in and do share. Ooh. Blessings on blessings. Blessings on blessings. Blessings on blessings. Blessings on blessings. Blessings on blessings on blessings. Blessings on blessings on blessings. Come on in and do share. Tonight, we just want to pray for a new insight. I think sometimes we get frustrated with ourselves because we feel like, I'm trying to be as consistent as possible. Nothing seems to be working. And we get weary with ourselves at times. But we're going to look at consistency a little bit different in this moment for those who have been frustrated with themselves, thinking that I'm not consistent enough, I'm not disciplined enough. And it could very well be the reality of what's been the norm in your life. I know for me, I look at the word consistency and I think I'm totally not consistent, right? When it comes to business things, showing up to do a certain type of thing, a certain type of way every time. Um, and it would frustrate me because I'm like, oh my God, why can't I seem to do this? Like, people have scheduled times for stuff, and schedules are not the thing that, you know, for me, it's not the way that I'm set to flow in ministry. Um, but what God showed me in this is doing this 100 days of prayer and flow. This is consistency. Consistency in what? Showing up every day. He, didn't give me a time. Now, if tomorrow God says, hey, set this time and do it this time every day for the next 10 days or every day for whatever, I would do that. But when God says, encourage the people to come, subscribe and get notifications because they'll never know when you're coming on. It will be random, which makes perfect sense to me. Random makes perfect sense to me. And I actually love it because I get to explore whatever it is that God is saying for me to explore in that time with no fear of things being wrong. I don't fear that I'm making the wrong decision when it comes to ministry and flow. Sometimes I might feel like, okay, God, I really don't want to disappoint. I don't want to disappoint anybody. So sometimes it's hard for me to say no. But I learn. You learn over time that if this is not beneficial, then you switch this up, because if you don't, then you're gonna see why you should have. But the unction within me is to be wherever the great I am needs me to be at any given moment. So that means that the person who may need to hear what I'm saying is not gonna, be able to sit down and rest their nerves before 9 p.m. Some don't get to sit down and rest until after 11 p.m. If God tells me to go live right at that last hour, then I'll do that. If He says, hey, the person that needs to hear you right now, they need to hear you at 3 p.m. in the middle of the day, I am available to do that. And so He showed me what consistency that was. So I can't, for me, and this is for me because I operate the way that I do. Can't be afraid of what the results will be. People already, they tune in when they want, they don't tune in. It is what it is. But I know that whatever I'm laying is groundwork, because God wouldn't have gave it to me if it wasn't. So I don't need to be consistent in doing it in a way that's going to please or try to please the majority of the people when I'm showing up, because I need to be available for who needs it in the moment. And if a person is subscribed and notifications to get all notifications, then they'll be able to know when I'm going live. And if the message is for them as well, they'll be in a position to be able to listen. And if not, then they'll be able to listen to it later when their time is winding down. But we move according to what the great I am wants, because trauma and issues and pain, they don't choose a time to show up. And so what I felt like wasn't consistency, God told me that it was. I speak about the 25th when I will be revealing my hair without my locks. I've had my locks for 15 years. So I'll be celebrating 15 years of coaching, 18 years of being a published author, but at the same time, 15 years of having this hair. This has been consistency for me, discipline for me, even when I felt like it wasn't. Again, because I have a different way of doing things. 1 minute I'm feeling a lot of energy. I know I need to do my hair. I got to retwist it. I'm all for it. I don't put on my nice little song, got music going or got a movie going, right? I know I got what I need to preoccupy myself. Done washed it, sitting down with this heavy behind hair on me, right? Retwisting. There are times when I don't have much energy, but I know it needs to be retwisted. So I have literally took and put knots at the bottom, just tied it in a knot, put a knot at the bottom. I may even show some of that one on the 25th, because I'm gonna have them for a minute, and I'm gonna do um, what I'm led to do with my hair. But I'm gonna show you the inconsistencies, right, and how I locked them or twisted them. But the consistency was in the fact that I was taking maintenance and doing maintenance with them regardless. We are so caught up that everything has to look the same way all the time. It has to be perfect. And if that's what works for you, if a routine works for you, that you're doing the same thing every day at the same time, that consistency is something that you need in your life, that form, then by all means. But are you looking at consistency one way and it's restricting you from going forward? What if all the consistency that God needs from you, especially right now, and I'm about to talk to those of you who are going through a healing process, you say that you want to be whole, you want to be right within yourself, you want to have a clean heart, whatever it is that you say you want, the consistency for you right now is just showing up. Then I encourage you, of course, to be more consistent with the practice, right? And so every day we're doing this. My sleep schedule is all the way off. It does what it wants to do. I'm nocturnal for the most part, pretty much up at night. That's where my spirit animal is owl, y'all. I'm a night watcher. So I have to be comfortable in the dark. I have to be able to navigate the dark places without being afraid. So my time switches, changes. So I'm up different times every day. But my practice, my consistency is in the fact that I'm going to take some time to just be still before God at some point. It may not be the same time every day, but it definitely is going to happen every day. That's my consistency. I need you to take a look at your consistency. You may not think that you are doing well, but the fact that you show up. Listen, there's some of you who are listening to me right now that you have shown up every single day for these 24 days. Even with the fact that I'm sporadic and spontaneous and all of that, you've been ready. You like, you subscribe, you got all notifications. So whenever that thing go off to say, you in it, you own it. Right now, your life may be to where you're not working for a building. You're not going into a center or a building, so you're able to take a break from your work because you work at home to tap in, to listen, or whatever. If you can't do it at that time, you do it later, but you're consistent because you keep showing up for it. If you have to listen to the replay every day, you're showing up for it. You said you want something to happen. So what consistency are you showing to get there? Another reason why I used to kind of feel down on myself is because even though I kept showing up, I kept falling off when it came to schooling and things like that. And then God was like, no, you never really fell off when it came to school and education. You just did it different. See, all of these things God is helping me to unpack, y'all, because I've been thinking down on myself for so long that he has to begin to illuminate it differently for me so that I know that everything has worked for the good of me. Look into the positive of every situation. And God says, no, you stay educated. The inconsistency of doing college constantly the whole time, showing up every day, same time, same place, right? For me, that's chaos. I need to be free to be able to be where I need to be when I need to be there. Somebody who is very to the T and has a schedule, they may think that's recklessness. They may think that's too much. You unstable. You're not this. Well, I think I was trained to be unstable or to be able to operate in unstable conditions. Because isn't that what's happening with the women that I work with the people that I cover in ministry? Don't they go through inconsistencies? Don't they go through instabilities? Right? Don't they go through many night hours? Doesn't somebody, because we are here one to another, doesn't somebody need to be able to meet them at that need? Doesn't somebody have to meet us at that need? And so everything that I thought was so negative about myself, I'm learning that there are so many beautiful things. Y'all feel like I'm going to cry because you spend your whole life thinking that everything about you is wrong. When in actuality, everything about me was on purpose. Joseph said something. He said something that was profound. It was a whole lot in that story that's profound to me, which is the reason why it's one of the stories that I relate to a whole lot. But he said, and he was talking about his brothers at the time, and he was saying, what you meant for evil, because they were afraid. They were afraid that he was going to punish them and take vengeance for what they had done to him over time. Now, mind you, this has been so much time that has passed. They probably don't went through changes in their lives where they lived through their guilt and their shame for what they had done. They had to go to God for themselves, do their repentance, and turn away from those behaviors. So they probably were just different men at this time. And then you're confronted with the stuff that you've done in the past, and they're looking at their brother and they're feeling afraid that he's going to make this decision once the father died. And Joseph said, "Listen, don't be afraid. Listen, I ain't gonna do nothing to you, because what you meant for evil, God meant it for good, to bring us to this place. In other words, so that I could feed many, I needed to go through the other things. See, you did it from an evil place. In other words, you did it from a heart of resentment and jealousy and wickedness and all of that. But even that has been used, my God, even that has been used to bring me to this place. What was consistent in Joseph's life? What was consistent is the fact that he kept getting betrayed or lied on. But every time something happened, every time a betrayal came, now let me go back and just say that his father had already prepared him By keeping him in the house, teaching him different things, he goes through the motions of feeling left out because all the brothers are going out there to work the fields and do whatever. And of course, if you the one that's left out, then the brother's gonna be upset with you and they're gonna be jealous, and you just trying to do what your daddy tell you to do, and but they're jealous because you're being trained up in a certain type of way. But again, all of it for purpose that he didn't even realize until he got to the second seat in command that he would need to use it. And so the brothers, what they meant for evil. So with everything that was meant for evil in your life, everything that caused you to make you feel as if you were not good enough to show up, and you were inconsistent because you didn't feel like you were bringing enough to the table, or you felt inadequate or whatever, and you feel like, hey, I'm just I'm too inconsistent for this. But can I tell you something? You showed up every day for life, even if you only felt like you was existing and you weren't a participant in life. You showed up every day for class. But I wasn't in it. I didn't participate, and I was feeling like this, and I complained, and you did all this. Yep, participating in some way, creating a path and creating a reality that you really don't want to experience with the fear and the negativity and all of that. Okay, we got that. Now you know. Now let's get up, turn away, and walk in this different direction. The consistency in Joseph's life is him getting betrayed. That was consistent. But every time a betrayal came, another level of him unfolded and unraveled. And he continued to believe God. So therefore, no matter how many years went by, oh, God help me today. No matter how many years went by, the promise still stood. And everything that he needed along the way, he gained it, whether it was through his father's lovingness, teaching him, and him being favored and loved on. Could it be that he was being favored and loved on by his father, and they stayed in the admonition and the reverence of God because he was going to have to deal with so many things and obstacles coming? Interestingly enough, the brothers felt disdain and jealousy in their hearts, but they still continued to have a consistent life of provision. And it wasn't until they had to, suffer through the famine and go get the food and stuff from where Pharaoh was, that now the tables have turned. And Joseph is in his place where every bit of the studying that happened when he was in the grips of love. See, y'all got to hold on to the things that were sustaining in your life. If you had love in your life, or somebody to love you or be there for you or comfort you in any way, you need to reverence that time. Allow that place to be where you go back to gather your strength. Be reminded that everything you receive during that time of being loved is to fit you for this time right here. Yep, I know that the other things have happened along the way, all the obstacles, all the dips and turns. But keep being consistent and showing up for life. I have a saying that says moment by moment, y'all, because moments make days. Days make lifetimes. So you may not feel like you've been consistent in certain things in your life, but you've been consistent to show up. You've been consistent to keep going. And for that reason, you're here listening to me. The support that you need to be able to rise up above everything that has you consumed. Realizing that, hey, your life may come with some interlocking, some palm rolling, some knots at the bottom of your dreads. But it's still growing. It's still growing. It's still beefing up. It's still gathering. Joseph, now seated at second in command, is now able to feed the very ones who afflicted him. And I don't know who this is for, but you need to listen to me. You need to be consistent in forgiveness. And what do I mean? Every day you may not feel like it, so you're not going to feel like you're being consistent. But what's going to make it consistent is that in any moment that you begin to think about the negative things that happened to you in your life, the people who did it, all of that, practice forgiveness in that very moment. As soon as it comes up, That may be in the middle of the day. It may be that you do it during your prayer and meditation time in the morning, or your prayer and meditation time in the evening before you go to sleep, before you rest, before you go to sleep. Be consistent in clearing yourself of all things that have happened throughout the day that make you frustrated. If you forgot to check your emotions and you went off anyway, you forgot to do self-management and all of that, you forgot, okay, go ahead and dust your shoulders off. If there's anything that you need to apologize for tomorrow, you said some things, did some things to some people, take accountability for that. Make the apologies, get up and move forward. But be consistent in forgiveness. Make it a habit. When they asked Jesus how to pray, he gave them what we call the Our Father prayer, which some call the model prayer, because we don't have to pray that way in those specific words every single time. But it was a model prayer, which, by the way, in English, we only know bits and pieces of it. We don't know exactly what it says in another language. But if we go based off of what we have as interpretation, it's another reason why you got to let your freedom be your freedom, because there are interpretations of things and you got to be able to get the one that resonates with you. Nevertheless, the Our Father prayer, or the model prayer, says, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, or forgive us our debts, as we forgive those who trespass against us, or those who are indebted to us. I owe no man nothing but to love him. You owe no man nothing but to love him. And when you do love him, then everything else will fall into place. Practice forgiveness. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Lead us not into temptation. Lead us not. He said, lead us not. In other words, he's talking to God, saying, God, don't lead us into this temptation. He's saying that, see, all things do work together. Now, Jesus is saying, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil. Like, because God says, listen, there'll be a way of escape made for you. So you'll have a way of escape. But I'm asking you not to even lead us into the temptation in the first place, God. We tired. We're tired, boss. But if by chance the temptation does come, because, he was led into the wilderness to be tempted, it was purposeful. Everything that you've gone through in this life has been purposeful. And you could choose to look at it from however other way you want to. But when you take ownership of all of this, when you say, you know what, life be life, and things do happen, circumstances, trials, tribulations are going to come. Every teaching, no matter what text it is going to speak of some type of hardship, something that somebody had to get over or overcome. Own that. But own that you also have the power and the authority, everything that you need for the journey. You just got to be able to learn and practice pulling out the right tool at the right time. And so tonight, we're rethinking consistency. You're not going to beat yourself up anymore about what you did not complete in a particular time. Because if it wasn't completed at that particular time, I'm telling you, when it is completed, it will be relevant. If you missed something, you got instructions, but you didn't do it, and the time has passed for it, forgive yourself and move forward. Just choose to practice something different the next time. Keep showing up. Keep showing up. Some people may be listening to me or listen to this at some time and be like, you know what, that sounds like excuses for not being timely, not being on one accord, not sticking to your agreements and all of that. I don't have nothing to apologize to anybody for. I am now saying to you that everything about what I have been in my life has been absolutely on purpose. At this point right now, after 25 years, I am finally going to get a bachelor's degree. Not because I did not want it before, but because I was being educated in other ways. I'm proud to be able to finish it and to complete it. But I'm even more proud of myself that I'm finally learning that my timing wasn't off. It just was the appointed time for me is now. Whatever I do in my life, I've been fitted for it. Low self-esteem for all of my life, as long as I can remember. Being sad as a kid, going through the motions, I'm even more proud of the fact that I decided to step out of that place of condemnation and shame and fear. I've accomplished much. And just because it didn't happen in the order that people thought that it should, doesn't mean that I wasn't consistent enough to show up. Even when people would tell me, well, you might as well do this in the meantime or do something else in the meantime, I was very consistent in saying, God told me full-time ministry. That's what I'm doing. And I won't make nobody responsible for it that don't want to be responsible. That doesn't want to contribute. So I ended up having a lot of away time from family and friends, not because I didn't love them and I didn't think they loved me, but I had to put myself in a position where I could hear my thoughts, hear the thoughts coming from within me. Shalonda, this is who you are. This is what you're supposed to do. Not ignoring my dreams anymore. Still saying hello, still talking to everybody, still showing up. Because they're not responsible for my call. I am. And I had to work through the bitterness of that because I felt like, hey, everybody's saying that I should be this and I should do that. But if they actually contributed to who I'm being, who I am, who I'm growing to be, then maybe I won't feel so beat down when I don't show up as they want me to show up. Trying to find my rhythm. And when you're trying to find your rhythm and everybody kind of throws their rhythm into the mix, feels like a pit. Feels like the slavery. Feels like being in jail. Feels like being in bondage. So I don't have to apologize for it. But if you would have did this at this time, you could have got done with this at this time and all that, maybe I wouldn't have learned the lessons that I needed to learn. Maybe I had to take the long way around because that was the best way for me to learn. I hope you're hearing what I'm saying. You don't feel like you've been consistent, but you have. In some way, pull on that. Find where you've been consistent. Have you been consistent as a mother? Did you show up every day for mother duty? Whether you felt like it or not? With all the combativeness and the arguments and all the things that came along with that, people, you being in the home, you raising your kids, but they trying to find their own way. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. I ain't trying to make parents feel like they want to leave they duty station, but this is the reason I believe that God created or started puberty during a certain time in life, because he knew when that head button would begin to start. See, at a certain age in other cultures, they honor the natural nature of life, which at a certain time, you are now considered to be an adult, make wise decisions. See, love was us embracing the process of birthing another portion of God in the earth. But of course, because of our own pains and fears and traumas, we begin to form certain bonds. And it wasn't always conducive for the relationship. Us getting our children ready to take on life, in African countries and other places, like by the time you turn 13, 14 years old, when you probably after your first wet dream, if I'm not mistaken, around that time, hey, you can find you a wife right now. You can find you a hut. You can find your own place. You can do that. 13, 14 years old, they were adults, and they literally were. Every other animal in the animal kingdom knows how it works. So that there is no fighting and contention. Two lions, a daddy and a son. Okay, son, by the time you turn a certain few months, a couple of years, you're going to be as big as me in here. And we can't have two alpha males in the same spot. So I'm going to need you to go ahead and find your way. Mm-hmm. Well, when it comes time for us to find our way and to live our truth, the reason why we feel so stifled and the reason why we feel like we're in such bondage and the reason why us as parents feel like we have so much contention with our children is because there's a certain point where they turn an age where they have to be able to make those decisions for our life, themselves. And because in the Western culture, we keep it up and we keep our kids with us until Man, whatever age. And that's not necessarily good or bad. It just is what it is. And what is good or bad is how you choose to navigate. So by the time they turn a certain age, and they're now to be held responsible for their actions, for their decisions, and we too afraid to let them do that. We weren't allowed to do that. And it's interesting because the people who were pushed out at a certain age, if they were still teenagers, they felt offended by their parents for doing so. But in other cultures, it's the norm. How you look at life, how you look at things and the way they're supposed to go, that's what's going to dictate the rest of your life. We combat and back and forth with our children who are of age to choose. That's where it all starts for us too, where we get confused as to who we are and what we should be doing because we're still listening to the narrative and the directive of parents. At one time, Abraham was instructed, get away from your family and you go to another place. It's time for you to establish a life of your own. But most of us, because of our pains and our past, because of feelings of rejection and abandonment and things like that, we're afraid to live life to the fullest. And so we're afraid to allow our children to live life to the fullest. And so the cycle continues. But as a parent, you've still been consistent. You've still been showing up every day. You've been combating and going back and forth, of course, because you have an idea of how life is supposed to go. They have an idea of how life is supposed to go. And we're butting heads now because you have two adult people in a home or more. Godly, imagine. Imagine everybody growing up around the same time. Everybody smelling themselves at the same time. Everybody think they got it at the same time. Well, they would have if we would have known how to better teach them how to be prepared. But we coddled. We held hands longer than we should have. But you showed up. You're just trying to do the best that you can. And you did. So no apologies. Well, what you mean, Apostle? Well, I mean, you saying that it's this and then it's that. No, what I'm saying is let life happen according to its course. There'll be a lot less resistance, a lot less fighting, right? Even if they do stay with us, we still got to give them room to be able to make those decisions and bump their head, and we be supportive, and then they get up and they try it again. But we got to have them take responsibility and all these different things. And now you got to look at the situation and say, you know what? I was consistent. I did show up anyway. And I gave it the best that I could. And go back and look at our parents and say, you know what? I saw their face. I know they was there. I think that's what I was trying to do with my kids. I think I told y'all that before that. I didn't want other people to raise them, and I didn't want people to feel like they was being responsible for the call on my life. So I didn't want my kids to have to go live with anybody else. And so, yes, I chose for them to go through the struggle with me. Now, somebody may feel like that's a disadvantage. That's a bad thing. You shouldn't have did that. Now they're not equipped or ready. But actually, them being with me, having to see me struggle every day, loving me through my own pain and darkness, you can feel envious, you can feel resentful, you can feel angry, you can feel mad. But when you go back and look at everything that built you, my children are independent. They're independent, but they love me. So sometimes they look back like, okay, mama, should I do that? Should I not? Should I do this? Should I not? The older ones are getting to the point now where they're like, you know what? I really may want to call her, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to figure it out for myself. They learned that from somewhere. So I'm no longer going to carry the shame of what I couldn't do right because I was trying to figure out life for myself. And I'm going to give them the space to be able to grow and to expand. Even if I do not understand, I got to check my heart on that. Am I trying to control their narrative? Or am I here to support them and trying to figure out their own? Will be less frustration. But you've been consistent in something. Find out what that something has been. Grab hold of that feeling in this moment. I'm about to pray over you, pronounce over you, because You may have been more consistent than you think. Shekataman sokorebakatamai. Go ahead and think on these things. Where have you been consistent? Have you been consistent showing up for bosses? See, you kind of learned in your life is that you just got to have a job no matter what, whether you like it, enjoy it or not. You just got to go there. You got to make your bread. You got to live. We have been programmed to believe that life is just about going to work, making money, going home. But Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, as he lived with wisdom for a while, he was going through the motions. He realized that, man, life is really not what we think it is sometimes. I think he was more enlightened than most people may care to believe. But he's like, listen, everything else is in vain. We doing all this stuff and getting all worked up over it and all that. But the thing to do is to eat, drink, and be merry. So yeah, go to work. But go to work and know that you are going to be in this life with other people. So you're going to eat, you're going to drink, you're going to have little parties, you're going to enjoy life with each other. But you're going to keep your heart pure along the way. If it's something that you need to address or work through it so that when you show up for the party, everything is wonderful. You've been consistent somewhere, find that space and get in there. Like, you know what? I absolutely did. I showed up for that work every day, even though I really didn't like it. I was consistent. Well, now we just learning how to be consistent in the things that are beneficial for our life. We're being consistent in the things that are beneficial for our life. Being consistent in practicing forgiveness is beneficial for your life. All unforgiveness, whether self or other people unforgiveness, God for unforgiveness, all unforgiveness is abuse unto yourself. So I release myself of that. I relieve myself of that. So I'm going to practice forgiveness every day. That means as soon as I think about that person, God, I forgive them for their offenses. Father, forgive them for they know not what they did. In the state of mind that they were in at the time, Father, they weren't making great judgment calls. And I can relate to that because there's been times where I may not have judged righteously. I may not have judged in a way that was beneficial for others. I may have allowed my emotions to take a hold of me. And while I'm frustrated with the world, I took out my frustration on other people. So I forgive them for what they done to me. And it may be difficult to pray that prayer or pray a similar prayer along those lines because you're doing it from a place of love, only wishing them the best and to be healed and to be whole if they're not already. And to allow that thing to be cleared from your space. Now I reject unforgiveness. I come out of agreement with unforgiveness. I am a forgiving soul. I am a discerning, forgiving soul. And I understand that every time somebody apologizes, they may not fully mean it yet because they have not received that thing within them that makes them really feel remorseful. But because I want to treat people the way that I want to be treated, I release this. It is not my burden to carry. Practice forgiveness every day. Say some type of prayer along those lines. I might actually release like a forgiveness journal. A gratitude journal. I got a couple of journals in mind. Or devotionals, one or the other. I'll figure it out. But to assist us along the way. Deal with forgiveness, deal with victim mentality, a couple of things that could be there and rooted in us that we need to give up and let go. But practicing forgiveness every day, along with gratitude. Shikataman socorre bakataya. Be consistent. Now you could choose to start off your day like that, start off your evening like that. And if I can suggest this, even if you don't do it early in the morning, because in the morning you can do some things to set the atmosphere for your day. Begin to, really just put yourself in a place where you're like, yes, I'm living this life to the fullest until I overflow. I won't be distracted. You can do those type of things in the morning. I'm about to release a new affirmation too for the morning time. But if you don't do it, like if they don't come up in your spirit all day, you don't see their face, you don't feel anything. If you start feeling anxiety and fear about your life, it's all rooted in something. So just do a forgiveness. Just do a forgiveness prayer. If you ain't got no name, no face, no nothing, just do a forgiveness prayer. I release and I let go of anything that has ever offended me, held me in bondage, tried to control me, violated my right to choose. I forgive it all. And I ask that I also be forgiven for anything that I've done along those lines to cripple somebody else's life. Always keep it balanced. Because when we pray and we're trying to forgive other people, we often forget that we, again, has been somebody offender too. So we don't want to dwell on it. We don't want to live in condemnation about it. Because whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Whom the Christ mind sets free, when you change your mind, it's free indeed. So you're not coming up with saying all this stuff to beat yourself down or feel the melancholy feelings or no, just simply say it in an affirmative manner. Because I'm speaking to and I'm feeding the life that I want, not the one that I don't. So find your consistent. And I think everybody in here, even if we offended with the cashier at the register because she didn't put your money in your hand the right way or whatever, just do a quick one. Forgive some things. Wash it clean. Relate it back to the fact that, hey, and that's why in that model prayer it says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Or forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. In other words, forgive me first. Forgive me first. Forgive it first. Forgive what I've done first. Because I put myself out there. When we think that we can't be the offender, when we think that everything has been done to us and we've never done anything, that we cannot be free. A part of being free is coming face to face with you. So be consistent with forgiveness every day. Be consistent with these things. And again, if they don't come up in your spirit at all, just make sure you do it in the evening time regardless before you go to sleep. Get anything off your conscience that you need to. Stop worrying about tomorrow. Tomorrow has worries of its own. That's what the scriptures tell us. Again, we are adopting the mind of Christ. So we're going to start looking at things from a different perspective. Shekataman soko rebakataya mandiaba. Shekataman soko rebaikatayaba. Man soko rebaikataman sikio robokotu. If you want to give tonight, go ahead and do so. Me and our Love Walk partners just had a nice good little conversation. As we go along, we're going to get a little bit deeper into some things, explore some things. Our main focus is this love walk. Our main focus is being here, being present, healing so that we can grow and we can be the bearers for others. And it's going to be a sweatless journey because we're becoming the thing that we want to experience. So you got to dig up some of this old stuff, old paradigms. You have been consistent in something. Find out what that is. Draw from that strength. And now be consistent in the things that are beneficial for your life. Glory to God. Glory to God. Can I say that I'm actually loving this time? I'm loving coming live every day. I'm not feeling 100% well in my body right now, but I do believe that these next days, as I am preparing for the 25th, because there's so much to share, and I'm excited. I'm excited about stepping into the newness and the security of who I am. That's just so many different parts. but to finally find the freedom and the liberty to live in it, you know, it's a powerful thing. You can do it. And I'm here to support you in that. Love Walk Outreach Global, y'all, where we believe that a closer walking with God, with the great I am, with ourselves and with others starts with, it is maintained with love. Love is unconditional. Love does not judge. Love allows. And whenever love has to judge, it's literally between two different things, and it's going to be just every time. Because it has no respecter of persons, meaning that it does not distinguish between who's better and who's not. It is well. 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 I'm consistent because I'm showing up every day, inching a little bit closer to my liberty. I'm working. I'm doing something. Ma socorre baikataya man. Shekataman sikio rebokotua maya. Shekataman sikio rebokotua mandio kosoto. Shekataman sikio rebokotua ma. Shekataman sikio rebokotua mandia kataya. Be at peace tonight as you rest. You are somebody, and you are somebody absolutely special. A unique expression of the great I am in this earth, the one that is, that was, that always will be, is omnipresent, which means can exclude us, has to include us. We are included in this greater whole. We're here, aren't we? So now let's find the place where we fit. Let's explore our liberties and our freedoms. But we continue to ask that God create in us a clean heart, renew a right spirit within us, that we do not sink into something that will feed the pain, the traumas, and the wickedness within. It will not cause us to hate another. For God is for us all. God is all. At the same time, all the time. So come into a space of peace with yourself right now, peace with all mankind. As we practice forgiveness, empathy, we are sure that as we do this and we spread this good news, that we're going to see changes. The shift is here and love shall reign. The shift is here and love shall reign. Oh God. When prophetic messages like what I'm about to say stir up within me, it makes me feel a little bit emotional because in my heart of hearts, I don't want to see anybody destroyed. I believe that there's a better way, and I believe that if we can process that and live in the truth of that, that we can make some changes in this world, and it would be such a beautiful place. But we must not wait for somebody else to go first. I want the world to be different. I want it to be whole. I want it to be exciting. I want it to be full of joy. I want it to be full of harmony and peace. And like literally life is just one great big old music fest. And you find the music that speaks to you. And if you have multiple, then you go between one and the other, or you combine them all to make one great big symphony. One of the words or in the definition of consistency is harmony. Harmony. I want harmony, so I'm going to create it. I'm going to participate. You can participate. Life is not meant to be crushing. But this prophetic word that I have to release right now is going to state some facts. Anytime there is wickedness or there is a virus or anything that is going to kill the body, if that part of the body does not come into submission to the healing, say for instance you go into the hospital and you need antibiotics, but whatever it is that's going on in you, it is being stubborn, it will not respond to the antibiotics, and so the body goes down. Anything that is threatening to kill the body is going to face a moment where it gets to choose whether to convert, whether to heal. And I'm not talking about converting to religion. This is spiritual. We're talking about our inner spiritual journeys. And we choose to turn away from the thing that is not beneficial for us any longer. It gets to choose life or death. This is not about the vengeance of God and God trying to make everybody pay for their sins and all of that. God is gracious. God is loving. God is kind. God allows for us to choose. And there is a way that seems right to man, according to the scriptures, but it is the way to destruction. And believe it or not, that way of destruction is not choosing love. Because when you don't choose love, then you continue to feed the negativity and the hatred and the virus that kills. War, rumors of wars, all these different things that causes us to die as a body. We all get to choose. Those who choose to keep a hardened heart, I think that's kind of what happened, from the story that we understand about Moses and Pharaoh and all of that. I wasn't there for it, neither were you. We can just only speculate to the fullness of the story. But in all of this time, it says that, and then God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Moses probably thinking, well, God dang, you told me to go. Tell him to let the people go. And then when I get there, his heart is all hard or whatever the case might be. And Moses may not have understood that it was God that was hardening his heart, but it was because Moses still needed to grow in some areas, be confident, be assertive. And so he got the no a couple of times. Well, once the testings were over and they were able to leave, I believe that what happened with Pharaoh and his focus, that his pride at some point began to well up. And as when God wasn't hardening his heart anymore, God was allowing him that space to just chill and let it go. His pride, his anger, his fear, all of that might have kicked in. And instead of him just turning away, letting them go, he pursued them anyway, out of his anger, out of his emotions, out of his fears, out of his embarrassment. And therefore, he had to drown in all the chariots. So the consequences came not because God was punishing him, because God was no longer allowing him to be this hard-hearted person. He gave him a moment where he told him to say no. Nah, not letting him go. It was a twofold thing. Moses had to learn some things. But when the time came for Pharaoh to choose to let them go and let it be over with, he could have still been alive until old age. But sometimes we get to that place where we need to choose ye this day what we're going to serve. Whether we're going to go down the narrow path, which is the Christ mind, which is love, which is speaking and believing and manifesting that thing that you can think and believe, understanding that your thoughts are doing that. What you're coming into agreement is doing that. Agreement with is doing that. And so when you get to this place of life or death, choose ye this day what you're going to serve. Are you going to serve this thing that keeps killing you, Keeps bringing viruses to your body, to your mind, to your everything? Or are you going to choose life more abundantly over here in this love lane? The body wants to alleviate anything that is toxic, anything viral. That's why it gets sick. That's why you throw up. That's why you go through a cleansing, because it's trying to get out anything that is toxic. So when we go through our healing processes, yep, you're going to go through what feels like pain, and you're throwing up some stuff, bringing up some stuff, getting out of the toxins, get the toxins out. That's all that happens when we're choosing this day, what we're going to serve, who we're going to serve. Keep being consistent and showing up. Cleansing is going to take place. Everything that is toxic, trying to kill you, will dissipate. You come into agreement with the fact that you are whole. Be consistent and still showing up, even if it don't look consistent to other people, because they see your dips, they see your rises, they see the roller coaster, they see the broken crayon, they see all these different things. But on their path is the same things, maybe some changes, some things that are, appeal to only them. But let's walk this out. No more beating up on yourself about not being as consistent in something as you think you should be. Be consistent in showing up enough to learn and to gain and to grow. And then it'll lead to the consistency in other areas that you want. But the upset is what you're holding on to in your heart and in your thoughts. Let's heal the soul. Oh, great I am, I thank you for those who have positioned themselves to grow, to expand. Everyone who has come along in your life and tried to guide you, to help you, to assist you, they've all had their place and their purpose in your life. Sometimes we don't even understand as leaders that there are time frames to growth. The same way we as parents need to understand that with our children. But today I declare that you are free to pursue the mind of Christ for yourself and to walk your path for yourself. Whenever you need to feel support, you will. All you have to do is simply ask. But allow this virus, allow this stuff, the toxins, to be cleansed out of you, so that you can then show up consistently by faith, through love, in the things that benefit you and those that are surrounding you. Because when you're being true to yourself, then you will find those that are in need of what you have. I'm learning that more and more every day. So peace, I pray over your life. I pray peaceful sleep and rest. You are worth it. You are loved. You are supported. You are free. You're willing to live in that freedom. Learn and grow and expand. And all things indeed work together. Some of you might need to go back and think about the things that you thought were like the worst things in the world to do or to be, as the older child, the younger child, the middle child. Everybody has a complex somewhere. The middle child feels totally forgotten because the oldest has the responsibilities and they're counted on more, and they get, they get people to note them. The youngest get paid attention to because it's the youngest, and they get babied. And now we have all these different ideas about what other people are experiencing. So we look at them in envy, when in actuality, we just need to embrace the place that we hold, what comes along with that. and stop looking at each other in envy and jealousy so much, and focus on building yourself to be who and what you need to be. If you're a middle child, work it out. If you're an older child, work it out. Your youngest, work it out. Imagine being born into a family with 17 kids, 19 kids. Talk about feeling like you don't fit. Or Joseph and his brothers. It was 11 of them for a long time, and then Benjamin came along, but that's a lot of kids. So we all have things. We all have stuff that overwhelm us and consume us, but we must begin to look at life through different set of eyes and lenses so that we see beyond and that we're ready to embrace the fullness and the wholeness of this life. So, Father, we thank you. We love you. We honor you. We adore you. We thank you for every partner. We thank you for every ear that has listened. And we just declare and decree and we affirm that it is well. It is well. It is well. Blessings to you. It is well. It is well. See you back here tomorrow, same time, same place. If you are not already subscribed, please do so and click that notification bell to all so that you receive it. You never know when I'm going to show up for prayer during these 100 days of prayer and flow, but we are here for it. We are standing in the gap for your healing. For your healing. Let this mind be in us, which was also in Christ Joshua. Yoke easy, burden light. Love is law. Be blessed.